More oil, more oil, more oil. Slide some oil to me. I don't even know if y'all know that song. That's from the Wiz, child. But we here. We are here. We are here. We're here. It is day 7. Let me tell you something. First of all, can I just let y'all know that I am up and tired? Okay? I'm tired. But the trial is here. And we are live from New York City. Bring you the latest updates and coverage from the Sean Combs trial versus the United States federal government. All right. It's a lot going on every single day. Just when you think it's over, it's some more new tea that comes up, and it's slippy. It's slippy. It's slippery, more slippery than wet. Okay. So today we finished. We had 3 testimonies today. We had the testimony from James David, or David James, which is Diddy, was Diddy's personal assistant from about 2007 to 2009. We're going to get into that. Then we got Cassie Ventura's mother on the stand. She testified. And then we got the male escort, the Punisher. He then testified against Diddy. Okay. So we're going to get into all of those things. And of course, then we had one of the Homeland Security investigators towards the end, which we're going to finish his testimony tomorrow. And we're going to get into what he uncovered today. And can you guess what he uncovered in Miami? You got it. More oil. Okay. So Diddy was a slippery man. So we're about to get into some things. So grab your cocktail, honey. I'm doing me a little cocktail. No shade. And we about to get into these updates. So let me show you, first of all, what David James looked like. Let me show y'all what David James looked like. So y'all get an idea of what he gives. So this is David James, okay? This is David James, Diddy's former assistant, okay? This is what he had on in court today. This is David James. Now, David James is a cackle, okay? Had the whole courtroom laughing, gagging. David James is not to be taken serious at all. But here's the thing with David James. Remember, I told you he's a cackle, but at the blink of an eyelid, he'll break out into tears. So I never know which way he's going, because either he's telling jokes or he's crying. You know what I'm saying? So every now and then, his voice would break. And then when he started to get to a point, then he would want to, then he'd tell a story, then the voice would break, and then he'd tell a joke. So David James had me on a roller coaster ride, and I didn't really know which way I was going, because I'm like, is this a spoof or is this a cackle? Like, what's the tea? So anyway, let's remove David James so y'all seen what he was given. So let's just jump right into it, okay? So I'm going to set the stage for you. So in my mind, David James was brought there to establish a couple of things. The overworking and being underpaid. I don't know if they went well with that from the prosecution. And David James also was there to try to establish the danger that Diddy would allegedly or put people through, right? And then he was also there to slightly, I don't know if it ended up working out in their favor, though, to try to point into like Cassie Ventura having, problems. You know what I'm saying? But the caveat is, I'm just giving you guys the tea. In my opinion, and you guys are going to know once I get through the documents, the shade is David James, and this is on the defensive side because they had gagged it. David James got immunity, but he didn't want to say that, because when we're reading through it, you're going to be able to get the tea. David James got immunity because if you think about it, once we get through it, David James was with the as a kiki as he was. So, and I'm going to break it all down for you, but they gave David James immunity. And then the defense caught that out. So let's just lay it down and let's get into what's going on. And so I'm about to give you guys all the tea. Okay. So I just want to give y'all like the synopsis. So when I'm reading this, you guys are not confused as to why David James was even brought into the situation. This, from my opinion, those are the reasons why David James was brought into the situation. So boom, we're gonna start day 7. David James testimony. Okay. They talked about what did Cassie want to do with her life and things like that. He talked about Cassie wanted to get into modeling and Cassie wanted to get into acting, but Diddy told her no, she got to focus on her music. That wasn't the thing. Cassie was not allowed to focus on the modeling, on the acting. Okay. They also asked David James, was Cassie, did you actually, see Cassie get into any, physical violence? Did you see her getting abused at all? David James said, no, I did not. They said, in 2009, do you remember a blog post? He said, yes. He said, they said, where were you? Where was Mr. Combs? They said, at the club. Who was he with? They said Roger Bonds and Cassie. So I guess there was a blog post that came out where they said that that Diddy hit Cassie. Okay. And so Diddy was pissed. He was at the club and he came home because that was also part of David James's job to make sure that, he would check all the tabloids to see if something had happened with Diddy's name attached to it. And so Diddy apparently was at the club out one night and somebody wrote a blog and said that he hit Cassie. So Diddy came to the house pissed off, fuming, busting the door. At this point, David James was living with Diddy for a little bit of time. So he stayed actually in Diddy's house in an assistant quarters. So he comes in, he says, someone lied on me and said I hit Cassie. Then he said, what are you in here doing? What are you doing? Because David James said, I'm on a computer. He was on a computer. He was like, what are you doing? He said, did you see this blog? He's like, well, no. What happened? I don't know what happened. He said Diddy moved him out the way. And then he said Diddy started just going through his search history because somebody lied on him and wrote a blog and said that he had hit Cassie. So he thought that David James had secretly written the blog. So they asked David James about that. David James said, yeah, he thinks I wrote the blog. They said, well, did you see Cassie after the incident? He said, no, for a while he didn't get a chance to see Cassie. He said he hadn't seen her for a long time. And it was like maybe a few weeks or maybe a month later. Diddy had, and he said he was so uncomfortable by that because Diddy had never did that to him before. And no one has ever went through his browser history. Could you imagine that? I mean, like, look at your phone right now. And it could be whatever. Would you be comfortable right now if somebody went through your browser history? I probably wouldn't. Like, I probably couldn't give my phone up right now and be like, go through my browser history because I was probably looking up some wild, crazy, or I'm looking at my bills, my credit card statements, anything, and it still stays up. So my thing is, don't go through my history like that. But when you work for somebody, they can just shoot through your browser history. So it's very invasive. You know what I'm saying? And so for a while, he didn't get to be around Cassie. He wasn't around like that. But after that, he said that Diddy wanted him to bring Cassie some food to the London. So he brought us some Roscoe's chicken and waffles. He made a joke about that. It was funny. But then he was making a joke, but then he got a little choked up. They said, so what happened? Who answered the door? He said, well, when I brought the food, I went upstairs because I would do I'll set the rooms up. Like, you know what I mean? So, but he went upstairs, but Cassie didn't answer the door. They said that he kind of just opened the door and Cassie was laying there with the blanket up to her face to the side. And I'm thinking, well, does she have a black eye? Does she have something? I don't know. and he had got choked up. I'm thinking, what the fuck happened? He was like, have you ever seen Cassie sleep like that before? That's what the prosecution said. They was like, no, I've never seen Cassie sleep like that before. She usually sleeps on her side. This time she was sleeping on her back. And there was a man naked that scurried off like a rat or a roach in the night that I guess he didn't want. And he said the man was well endowed. So there was a big black man, kind of medium to caramel complected, well endowed, scurrying along naked around the hotel room while Cassie is laid out asleep with a blanket like this up to her. So he said Cassie was like this. He said Cassie was naked, sleep like this, with the blanket up to her like this, laid back. And he got choked up about that. I'm thinking, what the fuck is he so choked up for about that? She sleep. I'm thinking, is he going to say she got a black eye? She done got knocked out. I don't know what he was trying to say. So I don't know if he was saying she was just so drugged out. I don't know what choked him up about that. So then he said he heard the shower running in the back. I'm assuming Diddy was in the shower. So anyway, he dropped the food off and he left. They said, did you ask Diddy about it? He said, no. They said, why not? They said, well, that's not my business. I don't get into, Mr. Combs' personal affairs. Whatever he does, that's his business. That's not my business. I don't ask. And you remember, they used to tell David James, remember D-Rock, Bonds, Roger Bonds, Uncle Paulie, they would tell David, stay in your motherfucking lane. Like, don't ask no questions, white boy. You know what I mean? So he decided to stay in his lane. And here's a little food for thought too. I also have that blog that Diddy saw. It was on Lipstick Alley. So they asked it, who directed you to set up hotel rooms, like to advance the rooms? Now, this is some rich. I'm gonna be honest with you. Although Diddy lives a freaky, freaky lifestyle, y'all probably not gonna like this, but as freaky as it sounds, it also sounds very expensive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like, there's just certain things that I want to try, and maybe not so far. And like, number one, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm definitely going to heat me up some oil next time. And I'm going to oil down the next time I do a session. I want to see, like, what is the oilty given? That's number one. And then number two, I want to do it with like a Diddy light and a mood light and a candle and heated oil and shit like that. I think I want to try that too. I'm not even finna lie to you. I think I'm gonna get freaked out like that. I mean, maybe not the escorts and stuff like that, and maybe like the full-fledged beat downs and stuff. But I'm gonna do me a little oil. It's no shade. I'm gonna get me a little oil. I'm gonna heat that up, and I'm gonna glisten and see what that gives. I want to try that, and I think I want to get to a point where I can have somebody advancing my hotel rooms. Like, as we're getting into it, I'm like, what is an advancement of a hotel room? This sounds like some rich shit. So I will get into the advancing of the hotel room in a second. So David's job would be to, book the hotel rooms, and he would book the hotel rooms under Frank Black. Okay. And then he would advance the hotel rooms. And they were like, well, what is advance the hotel rooms? Now, listen, now take Diddy out of it and just think about the money. So advancing the hotel room means getting the rider together. If you guys know what a rider is something that people with money or people on an advanced level or advanced level people, and that's a new word I'm learning in court, advanced level. So advanced level people, they have riders. So if you go to a booking, you go to a show, you get a green room, a backstage area. What do you have in your rider? Maybe I like, a bunch of Smirnoff Ices. Maybe I want a little deodorant. Maybe I like smart waters in there. Maybe I want 50 buckets of fried chicken. Maybe I want my favorite M&Ms, but I only want the green ones. And then I want to have Listerine packs, or I only want double mint gum. Like, you whatever it is that you're going to accommodate me to make me feel good. So you get the rider together, and then you just bring your personal items from home. So when the person that advances the hotel room, which will be your assistant, they bring some of your whatnots and personal items from home, so that when you go into the hotel, you are already comfortable. So things that he would bring, like he would have it before Diddy would even get there, he would advance the room with Diddy's favorite goodies and candies. Then he would also bring like a Jordan sweatsuit. He would bring underwear, socks, a Bluetooth speaker, applesauce, his favorite toiletries, everything you need to feel comfortable. Okay. These things would be set up before the guests got there. And I thought, oh, that's fab. Oh, that is fab. That is classy. That's classy. That is so classy. And so he would do stuff like that. And then, of course, the prosecution, they said, well, would you bring anything else? They said, well, we'd bring a medicine bag. And they said, well, what kind of medicine bag? It was like his personal LV bag. Now, if you guys have been following me, you guys know the little black LV bag had all the shit in it. You know what I'm saying? The good stuff. So they said, well, what would be in the LV bag? He said it would be like $10,000. It'd be money in there, like at least $10,000 of cash. Okay. But the security guard would carry the bag most of the time. And then he'd have like a little medicine. And what also is in the medicine little packet would be 20 to 30 bottles of pills. I'm not taking all them pills. They said, well, what kind of pills would be in there? He said, oh, everything. He'd have Viagra, butane or Bucacet. I don't know what that is. Ecstasy, Percocets, sperm pills, water pills, because he's trying to lose a little weight. This is what the man's saying. He'd have his water pills in there, the Tylenol. So at everything. He had health pills. He had the freak off pills. He had the headache medication. He had the Viagra. He had everything. Okay. Then they asked him, who would be responsible for replenishing the product as it, kind of wore down? He said, I would replenish the product, and, I would use, and they said, and who would pay for it? He said, well, I would just use my money. I would pay for it, and then I would get it back reimbursed, with a check, so I would pay for it, and then they would pay out of Bad Boy. They would pay me back if Diddy needed me to go run to the store to get some toiletries or get things like that. And he said he would get him reimbursed, and he would do it through the company. And they said, were there other things that you didn't get reimbursed for through the company? He said, well, yes. And he said, well, what? They said, he goes, what do you think it is? Now, let me ask you. Let me see what y'all think it is. Somebody say it loud. Oh, I heard it. That's what he said. Baby oil. So he would buy, this is a separate tab and it's only paid with cash. Baby oil, Astroglide. And he would be reimbursed through cash. So because Diddy didn't want that to be on paper on the books. And so he would go to the security guard, and the security guard would give him, X amount of dollars to buy, maybe 1,000 bottles, or maybe 500 for the weekend, 500 bottles of baby oil, 60 bottles of Astroglide, and whatever else he needed. And you would do that with cash. Then they would reimburse you with cash. And they said, well, did Diddy ever stay alone in these hotels, or would he be alone, or whatever happened? And then the guy said, I don't ever think Mr. Combs stayed alone. So that let me know that Diddy was never staying alone. Diddy never likes to be alone. He's always got a freak off or a freaky situation happening, or just people around. But one thing for sure, and two things for certain, there's going to be baby oil and Astroglide in every corner where Diddy lays his head, period. Okay? So there's that. And if there was anything going on, he said Diddy would just text him in the middle of the night, whatever, if Diddy needed something while he was there. One time they were in Miami and Diddy asked him to bring an iPad on the room. He knocked on the door to give him an iPad. He said no one answered, so he opened the door. Oh, this is the one. Cassie had on a white comforter up to her neck, and she didn't move. And an unknown man was in the room with a large dick and long hair while Diddy was in the shower. James says that he doesn't talk to Cassie or Diddy about their personal life, so he never brought it up. He also said that he would go pick up the drugs for Diddy. So sometimes, when we got the pill bottles and the Percocets and stuff, so he would go to the pharmacy and pick up the prescription. Because sometimes they'd be in the name of Frank Black. This is obviously written by, a doctor. Or sometimes Diddy would put the pills in his name. And they said, well, did Diddy tell you that? He said, no, I never knew. He never asked me. He would just say, the pills are in your name, just go grab the pills. And he would do it. So you see now how he's starting. Now, if you listen to me in the beginning, you see how he's a little bit a part of the racketeering and the enterprise. So this is why he needed the immunity, but we're going to keep going. They said, well, where did you get the drug? Like, who would give you the drugs? And the guy, One Stop, came up again. One Stop was also the drug man and had everything. They said, well, did Diddy do drugs all the time? Like, how often did Diddy do drugs? The man said Diddy did drugs every single day. He said Diddy would do a Percocet every day. They said, would he be working and doing his business with Percocets, off of Percocets? He said Diddy would take Percocets every single day. During the day, he would conduct business with Percocets. During the night, he would take Barack Obama-shaped ecstasy pills. I don't know what the kink is with the Barack Obama pill, but at night, he would do ecstasy, but they was the shape and had the face of Barack Obama. That's some interesting shit. I'd never seen that before. What does a Barack Obama ecstasy look like? And what does that do? So that was interesting. So then he also said, well, did Diddy ever have you get drugs for a friend? Or did you ever do anything? He was like, well, there was this one time where we were in San Tropez. Diddy's friend requested an 8-ball of cocaine. Another time, a person wanted a pill, and Diddy sent him to grab a pill for his friend. So he did do a little, transactions, for Diddy's friends. He would go get cocaine and get little pills, and they would get fucked up, and he would be the runner. They said, well, James, have you ever done drugs with Mr. Combs? James said, well, yes, I think, but not with Mr. Combs. He said that he had the night off when he did it. They said, well, what happened? He said, well, I was Diddy bopping around the house at Diddy's party, and I went into Diddy's little bag and grabbed one of the Barack Obama pills and popped it. Could you imagine this white man sitting up there? Now, he done got into Diddy's purse and popped the ecstasy pill at the party. And he said that he was up there just tripping out. Diddy bopping at the party. I mean, he was high as shit. He said he was high than a motherfucker. He was in there. He said it was so out of character for him. He said Diddy would have people camp filming like throughout the house for the parties. And so he said the next day, Diddy was like, nigga, was you high? Because Diddy didn't know that he had went into the purse and popped the Barack Obama. So Diddy said He said, well, no, they said, did you stay all night? Were you there for like basically, were you there for the freak off when you got high? Like, did you get involved in the freak offs and stuff? And he said, well, no. And this is some real, now this is real. And I know we all can relate to this. He said, well, no, I didn't do that. He said, I left. They said, well, why did you leave? He said, well, I left because I was off of work. And I knew if I would have stayed there longer, Mr. Combs would have needed me. He would have forgot that I was off of work and he would have started giving me orders. And so because I didn't want to do any more work and because I was off and because I was high and I could not function like that, and I didn't want to have him keep giving me tasks, I went ahead and left and went home. Because if I'd have stayed, he would have put me to work and I was off. And you know what? I couldn't even be mad at that because you know what? I would have said, you know what? I'm going home too because this thing is going. I'm too full for this, and I know he gonna ask me to start running errands, and I'm off. So I took my pill. I'm gonna call my girlfriend. I'm gonna call my whoever, and I'm out. Deuces, peace. You know what I mean? I would have did that too. So the next day, apparently, Diddy's reviewing the footage. Remember, I told you guys that there's footage in the camp. There's so, and this is so smart too. This is just some, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. Y'all, I mean, we may not like Diddy for the beating on Cassie. Can we just be real here? That's the only thing I'm not with. Is the beating and stomping and kicking on Cassie. The baby oil and the freak off and the occasional get fucked up. I might be with it. With the freaky lights on and stuff. And the advancement of the hotel rooms, and you got the camera guys out, and you know, that's some rich, and Sandro Perry and Ibiza, and you know, and at the London, and you know, at the Ritz, and shit. I'm not gonna even hold you. I want to see what that kind of money feel like without the black eye. You know what I'm saying? And the UTI. Okay? But in the blood. But anyway, so so at the parties, Diddy would have people recording, you know, throughout the night for various reasons that I took. Number one, you just want to see what's going on. You want to get good footage. Number two, you want to see who's acting funny and what's going on because you probably so full, you don't really know what's going on. So you can go back and review the footage and see how foolish you look, how they look, and what you can use as blackmail if you need to. It's no shade. And so Diddy was reviewing the footage and saw him dancing and Diddy bopping and shucking and jiving and asked that Mike motherfucker, was he high? And he said, well, yes. He said, I didn't know that. But I'll just keep this footage in case I need it. So then the guy was like, he didn't like that because he felt like Diddy was blackmailing him, which he was. That was definitely a blackmail tactic. So he definitely did that. That was clear. Then there was an incident. They asked him, well, have you ever, you know, stole anything from Mr. Combs? Is it what happens when things go missing? Well, he said there was this one time where a Cartier bracelet went missing and I had to go through a security search. He said I had to take 2 lie detector tests. Anytime something would go missing, we'd have to take a lie detector test. And I wrote down here, I'm not mad at the lie detector test. So Diddy had the man take a lie detector test. They said, well, why did you take the test? He said, well, I felt like I had to take the test because I had to keep my job. And it was a security, like the security was searching me. They went through all my stuff. Like, you don't tell these people no, they're trained professionals. This is what they're going to do. How are you going to tell the security guard that you're not going to do it? How are you going to tell Diddy that you're not going to take the test? I'm going to do it, especially if I didn't steal nothing. So he took the test. He felt uncomfortable. And he didn't steal it. But when they were testing him, they was like, well, you really look nervous. Are you hiding something? Like, are you stealing from Diddy? Then he said, well, no, I didn't steal. Like, I didn't steal the watch, but I did, take a bottle of Ciroc, and then sometimes when Mr. Combs would, get, boxes of, jeans sent to him, I'd take a pair of the jeans before he knew that they were in there. So I guess I would steal a pair of pants every now and then I'd give Mr. Combs the box, like, here's your shipment. Meanwhile, you done probably took off $800 pair of jeans. So he was over there stealing clothes and Ciroc bottles. So he was nervous because he thought he was going to get caught, because he was over there penny pinching off the denim and stealing the Ciroc as the deliveries came in. You okay? So they said KK had to Roger Bonds was the security guard that was like making sure everything was watching everybody. KK, which is, Diddy's like executive assistants, executive, marketing. She's really in with Diddy. They said that she had to take, even her, she's still a part of his team now. I can't wait till they bring her in. But she had to take a lie detector test too before. But this makes sense though. They said that she had to take a lie detector test one time because I think she was carrying a bunch of like jewelry for him and in a little fanny pack or something. So she got jumped and they stole all the jewelry. So now they started replacing like some of the jewelry in the wearables with cubic zirconium instead of like diamonds in the bags that she would carry. So the jewelry wouldn't be, the diamonds wouldn't be on an actual person getting transported, because they seen a time where, okay, you work with Diddy, they jump her and they take her stuff, and girl, it's hundreds of $1,000s worth of diamonds. But the whole tea was she had to take the lie detector test because Diddy wanted to make sure that she didn't set herself up for the heist. Does that make sense? So he wanted to make sure she didn't call Poo Poo and Ray Ray and say, meet me around 14th and Broadway, knock me over the head 2 or 3 times, and take $1 million worth of diamonds, and we'll split it on the back end when we hit it back to Brooklyn. She obviously passed the test. Okay. So then we get into the story. Wow. Now we get into the story about Mel's Diner in Los Angeles. So D-Rock, which is one of the head of security over there with Diddy, and James, they go to Mel's Diner to pick up some food. So apparently they pulled into Mel's Diner, and D-Rock looked over and said, that's that mother Suge Knight. Then I guess he got out the car and walked up to Suge Knight and said, what's up, Nick? He said, what's up? He said, yeah, you know me as D-Rock. He said, no. He said, yeah, it's Biggie Boy. And Suge was like, okay. He said, what you doing in my city? And then D-Rock was like, shit, Nick, just getting my money, doing my shit, staying out the way, motherfucker. Then he said they went inside of Mel's Diner. 4 black trucks popped up on each corner. Boom, 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 boom. Mel's Diner's all glass. So when you're inside of Mel's Diner, you can see what's going on the outside. 4 black trucks pull up. It's David James and it's D-Rock in Mel's Diner ordering whatever food. Suge Knight is outside. 4 niggas roll up in black trucks. And and then they saw somebody pass a Yisto over to Suge Knight. So could you imagine the type of shit you would do in your drawers if you the assistant and you sitting here and you just trying to order, a hot wing and fries, and you see Suge Knight and 4 big black trucks and some niggas passing out Yistos, and you sitting there with just you and you the driver, and D-Rock looked out the window and was like, shit, we got to get the fuck out of here. So they didn't even get the food. They got the out of there. Now, they go back up into the Hollywood Hills. Drive up. Now, apparently, Cassie, now he didn't really go into what happened, but I'm just assuming Diddy was out there, boxing Cassie up, uppercutting Cassie in the middle of the street while they were going to get food. Now, he didn't say that, but he said they was arguing. Now, we know what that means. When Cassie and Diddy arguing, it's probably an uppercut and an elbow with a drop kick. So that was all happening. He said they pulled up, and Diddy and Cassie were getting into it. And he told Diddy, I guess D-Rock told Diddy what was going on before they even got into the house. And Diddy said, "Oh, we going back." So Diddy didn't even go in the house. Cassie didn't go back down with them. Now that story gets so great because Cassie one time said she went with him. Then she said she didn't go with him. But this is all to prove that, Diddy is a dangerous person, right? But if you're following me, David at this point now has gotten drugs for people. David now has done drugs himself. He has been a part of, dropping stuff out at the hotel rooms. Now, David is in the car with Diddy as the driver. They was in like I forget what kind of car he said they was in, but then they get into a black truck. He's driving. D-Rock is in front. Diddy's in the back with 3 guns on his lap. And they over there apparently riding around looking for Suge Knight. As they said, so they went to Mel's Diner and they drove around and didn't see anybody anymore, so they went home. And this is all what he's saying from the prosecution. So he says, after that moment, he was scared as hell because that was the first time he ever felt like his life was in danger. And so he went to corporate and he went and basically said, "I don't want to do this no more." They actually said, "Hey, do you want to just go work on the Sean John side because you like fashion? Do you want to do that?" He said, "No, I just want out." So he quit working with Diddy in 2009 because it was just too much for him. Okay? It was too much. So that was what he told the prosecution. Now we're here for the defense to cross-examine and interrogate him more. So boom. They say, "You didn't tell everything. You didn't tell the whole story. Did you?" They told you. What did they tell you? What did the prosecution tell you? Is it true that the prosecution said, "Don't say anything that will incriminate you"? He said, "Yeah, they told me don't say anything on the stand to incriminate myself." That's what David said to Diddy's defense in the cross-examination. January 10, 2024. Now they're going through everything that he said to the prosecution in his pre-interview before the trial. The defense says, "You said you and D-Rock were inside the diner, right?" David James said, "I don't remember saying that. We never ate at that is inaccurate." He said, "No, you said you were in the diner. You did say you." He said, "No, I never said that." He said, "Even though there was a note taker there, you didn't say that? Like, look at this is where you said it." He said, "Well, that's an inaccurate note because I didn't say that." So what happened? He said, "Well, D-Rock said that's Suge Knight, and D-Rock said that's that mother Suge Knight." The defense said, "Well, where were you?" He said, "I was in the car driving." He said, "Are you aware? Were you aware of all these events?" He was like, "Yes, I was aware. I was there." Then they said, "Were you doing drugs?" He said, "No, I wasn't doing drugs." He said, "So your mind was clear?" He said, "Yes, my mind was very clear. I mean," he said, "Yeah, I smoked weed here and there, but I mean, I wasn't smoking on the job, And he said, "I mean, I couldn't really smoke working 20 hours a day, 20 hours a week, whatever. I can't be sitting here just high like that, So my mind was as clear as it was going to be for working 20 hours for the day. Shit." And so I wrote, at this point, the defense is trying to find a hole in James' story. They said, did you leave D-Rock at the diner? And he kept saying this. Apparently, somehow the defense keeps alluding to the fact that James left D-Rock at the diner. I'm just like trying to figure out why that was a thing. But to me, it felt like he was pushing. But James was like, very like, that's not true. That I was there. Like, y'all not gonna, I don't know if you guys are just trying to really sell this or trying to find a loophole to discredit me. However, it's not gonna work. And I'm not gonna crack because I know I'm not lying. You know when you know you're not lying and you know somebody else is trying to make it seem like you lying and you know that you're not lying? It's like, I don't care what you're talking about because that didn't happen. That's kind of what James was giving. Like, you can be as dramatic and sensational all you want, but that didn't happen. So it is what it is. James said, and then James started laughing. They said, well, why are you laughing? He said, because why would I leave D-Rock at the diner with Suge Knight and 4 guys with guns? That's a dumb question, and it doesn't make sense. And they were saying, and the defense was saying, well, that's what I want to know. Then they were saying, well, what color was the car? What color car did you see? Was it red? Was it blue? Was it green? Did you see D-Rock? Did you leave D-Rock? Where was Cassie? They were just asking a bunch of random questions to make the guy like trip up a little bit, but he didn't ever really trip up. So I said, he is reaching. The defense has nothing to discredit this guy. James is telling the truth. They said, well, were you aware that Diddy had guns? He said, I wasn't aware that we had guns in the camp until that night. I never knew that. He said, so at this point, you never thought, oh my God, I have 3 guns in the car with me, and we're about to roll up on the side of Suge Knight, who has guns, and you never once said, I don't want to do this. You never said that? So you just rolled with it? But you were so scared, but you never once said, hey, we're about to pull up on Suge Knight. We got 3 guns, and it's a bunch of niggas at the gun, and I'm going to drive. So you just were just with it. Then David James said, we were executing. At this point, I was sitting in a car with 2 people with 3 guns. No, he said, I was sitting in the car with 3 people and 3 guns. I don't think I had a choice, sir. He was like, I don't have a choice. I was sitting in the car with 2 people with 3 guns. And girl, and all I think of is if we get there, there's 3 guns, there's 3 people. So I had to take one of these motherfucking guns and shoot whoever I can. But these niggas were mad. These niggas were serious. So I had no choice but to get in the car. It was part of my job. So I went. This is also the reason why I probably quit. So then I wrote, this idiot defense lawyer is helping prove the point of the prosecution because he felt like he had to keep going. So the reason why I wrote that is because I'm like, dude, the prosecution is trying to prove that Diddy forces people into dangerous situations. You're having this guy on the stand basically tell you, I was forced in so many ways to go and carry weapons and be a co-conspirator of a potential shooting. That is not what you want the witness on the stand to say while you're defending your client. You should have laid off, in my mind. And I wrote, the defense is trying to incriminate James. But I later on figured out the defense was trying to figure out, well, how are you not looped into everything? So which lets me feel like D-Rock and everybody else is getting subpoenaed or they might have immunity. Something is coming down the pipeline because the defense was like, you're in all of this. How are your hands not dirty? Why is the prosecution telling you not to say anything that's going to incriminate yourself. How are you doing all these incriminating acts, but you're sitting up on a witness on the witness stand testifying? Did they give you immunity? Do you have immunity? He was like, well, I don't know. I don't know. What is immunity? Do you have immunity? I don't know. You have to talk to my lawyer. When he said that, I said, oh, they gave David James immunity, and that's why he's testifying. So he got immunity. I feel like he got immunity. I feel like Cassie got immunity. I feel like everybody that's about to get on the stage that's got their sticky fingers, they all got immunity because everybody wants Diddy. They said, did you meet with the prosecutors this morning? What did they tell you? He said, yes. He said, so did they prep you? What did they tell you? He said, yes. They told me what could kind of come up in the cross. They said, did they talk about Mel's Diner? They said, yes, they talked about that. And did they talk about an immunity deal? Did you sign any paperwork? He said, not that I can recall. Not that you can recall. That was at 8:45 a.m., sir. You don't remember? Sir, you're up here recounting things and events from 2009 and 2007. However, you don't remember what you talked to the prosecutors about an hour and a half ago? I'm sitting there like, girl, this is crazy. He said, well, what did you talk about with your lawyer? And I'm not talking about you and your lawyer by yourself in a room. I don't care about that. What did you talk about your lawyer with the United States government prosecutors in the room? He said, we talked about your style. I'm like, what? This dude is a troll. He said, well, they also said that you might bring up some of my inconsistencies in my testimony. He said, yeah, we are. There's a lot of inconsistencies. He said, well, listen, I'm trying to remember as best I could. So that's natural. It's natural to have inconsistencies. It's okay. That's what David James said. He said, did anyone tell you that you're going to be confronted with about 8 inconsistencies about Mel's Diner? He said, you can't remember what we talked about 2 hours ago, but you're telling me you can testify from 2009? He said, sir, I don't remember everything. You know, inconsistencies are perfectly normal. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm over there cracking up. Then he said, so you didn't leave D-Rock and you didn't walk in the house? He said, no. And no. He said, are you sure? He said, 100%. So we moved on. So then they talked about, why he liked, Sean Combs, and this went to Diddy. I'm gonna be honest with you. The James guy was a good witness for both. I think he was a good medium witness because then he also really talked about how he admired Diddy, how he really looked up to Diddy, and how, Diddy, was really about his business. When it comes to the business aspect of Diddy's life, he really admired him. He said that one time Diddy flew out testers for Estee Lauder, one of the heads of Estee Lauder, because he was coming up with, I guess, a cologne brand, and he wanted them to all try the fragrance. He was really involved with his businesses. He said, and I said, I like him. He's refreshing for the courtroom, and he's very neutral witness. And I said I would hire him because he was fun and he was loyal to who he worked with, and he seems like he was a good time. So I think he was a good person. He don't give me clout chaser. Wherever he's at is where he's at. Now he's a little emotionally up and down, but he seems like a good guy. So he did all of that and started talking about how Diddy was a great guy and this, that, and the third, and all of these things, and how he admires him with business, and how he admired him, how he does his business, and how, he's such a boss and a mogul and these things. And they say, and so I felt like the defense thought they were having a win. So they were like, well, yeah, Diddy is such a gracious guy. And then James goes, well, I wouldn't call Mr. Combs gracious at all. That's the furthest things that he is. They said, you don't think so? You don't think Diddy was gracious to his fans and signed autographs? He said, Mr. Combs is not gracious. And he said, Mr. Combs never signs autographs. He said, if anything, I would have to sign the autographs. That's what he said. Let me get to the next T. He said, yeah, gracious is not how I would describe Mr. Combs. The courtroom kind of gagged like, ooh. Diddy never signs autographs. And I said, he needs to stop this line of questioning because it's starting to lean back now about how Diddy's a monster and a jerk and rude. He said, would you ever take breaks when you get tired? He said, no. He said one person that worked for Diddy went to the hospital because they couldn't handle it. He said, he's just a different breed. He said, I'm a different breed. I can handle it. He said, how do you do it? He said, you know what they told me one time? He said that Diddy's team told him one time, he said, you know what rhymes with tired, right? And everybody was like, well, no, well, what rhymes with tired? He said, fired. Oh, I got to tell somebody that. You know what rhymes with tired? What? You're fired. That was a good one. You know what rhymes with tired? You're fired. Okay? To be talking to me like that at work is crazy. Ain't no tired. You're just fired. What? What? Don't talk to me like that. That is crazy. And so he said that, Mr. Combs is very hard to work for. He's a peculiar man. He talked about a time how Diddy was very serious about his ketchup. And he likes the Heinz ketchup from America. Like, for instance, you go to London, and I guess I've never been to London, but the ketchup is different out in the UK. So Diddy doesn't like the ketchup in the UK, so he has to make sure that he has the right ketchup flown out or brought in to Europe because he don't like European ketchup. And see, for me and you, we ain't got that kind of money, right? So we just gonna get what we can. We gonna complain about it later. But I'm just telling you, throughout all of this, I cannot wait to get to a point where I say, I don't like ketchup in London. Fly me out a bottle of Heineken Heinz ketchup from LA. Figure it out. You know what rhymes with tired? You're fired. I don't give a fuck. Have the ketchup here in 10 minutes. I don't know how you're going to figure it out. It's raining, it's snowing. It's the pandemic. Who gives a fuck? My fries are waiting. Ketchup. Ketchup. And also, more oil. Like, can you imagine being across the world and demanding ketchup from another continent? I would love to be able to do that. I would love that. Absolutely love that. And so we talked about that. They said, have you ever bought baby oil through the business? Because the defense, the prosecution was trying to say, well, Diddy had David James buying the baby oil through cash because Diddy didn't want to trace it. But there was actually a time where David bought the baby oil through the business. So the defense is like, well, you actually did buy baby oil through the business. So don't try to make it seem like the baby oil is all for freak offs. Even at this point, we all know it's for Diddy's weird shit. We know that. So, but the defense has to do their job. So he was like, well, yeah, I did do it before. I thought I could buy it through the business because I thought they were just everyday items. And shit, I would have thought that too. I mean, it's just baby oil. But I mean, sir, you can't think 50 bottles of baby oil is everyday items. They said, what else wouldn't he run through the company? Well, Astroglide, baby oil, and condoms were not ran through the company. That cannot be paid through the company card, okay? And so they also, one second. Let me pull this up real quick. So Diddy's friend, Nelly Hooper, this is a white guy. I don't know who this guy is. Friends with Madonna, too. So Nelly Hooper, one time in San Tropez, wanted an 8-ball of cocaine. And the thing was this, though. He went and James went and bought the cocaine. But the prosecution was like, well, did Diddy know? He's like, well, Diddy didn't know. And not the prosecution, the defense was like, well, did Diddy know that you went and did that? He was like, well, no. He said, so why did you do that? He was like, because my job was to make Mr. Combs and all his friends happy. They said, well, did Sean Combs know that you went and bought an 8-ball of cocaine for Nelly Hooper? He was like, no. So he said, so it's fair to say that Sean did not tell you to go buy those drugs. He was like, yeah, so you went and bought the drugs because you wanted them. He was like, I didn't want them. But in my mind, I'm thinking, girl, you wanted to get high yourself. They said, you never told Diddy. He said, I never told Diddy that I bought it. He said, so Diddy did not know that you bought the cocaine until today in court. He said, yeah. So then it starts getting heated up. So they bring about Chef Jordan. Now, I guess she's supposed to testify too. It's something going on with a skillet and eggs with her too. So then the defense just gets riled up. They get tired. They say, and now mind you, because through this whole time now, David's got us all laughing and cackling and having a good time. Then it takes a turn. See, that's why you got to watch. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. You got to really watch the mother. See, come close. Anybody that's, and I'm not talking about me, but anybody that's kind of up and down, like hyper or funny, life is good and they're crying a second. Watch the motherfuckers crazy. They're crazy. They could be a good time, but they're loony. They tick-tocking and not the right way. They're cuckooed in the motherfucker. So defense steps back and he says, what about Chef Jordan? He said, what about her? Then he said, did you choke her? And I'm saying, choke her? Did you choke her? Objection, Your Honor. Objection from the prosecution. Objection. Overruled. Did you choke her? David said, no, I didn't choke her. He said, so what did you do? I grabbed her wrist and told her to stay in her fucking lane. I'm like, what? Now you telling people to stay in their motherfucking lane. David, let me find out you was a part of you was a thug too. So you was over there slapping bitches and choking bitches too. So you was over there looking at Diddy and them choking, slap, and then you went ahead and yanked up the chef. And you just felt bold one day and choked the shit out of her and told her to just you wasn't having a good day, so you told her to stay in her fucking lane because you felt like that's what you should have did because that's what Diddy and everybody was doing, slapping bitches on the clock over waffles and eggs and air. They over here choking bitches for breathing. Could you imagine slapping a bitch over air? So they said, well, why did you do that? He said, well, because she was trying to tell me how to do my job. So I grabbed her by her wrist and I told her to stay in her motherfucking lane. And I'm thinking, really, David? What happened to the funny crying out David? Really? And watch this. They said, so did you get in any trouble? What happened after that? He said, well, Diddy called him up to his room, and Diddy told him, asked him what happened. And he told him what happened. And Diddy said, now, bro, you know you can't be putting your hands on women. And everybody in the courtroom looked like, what? He said, you don't put your hands on women. Mind you, the same chef is alleging that Diddy whooped her ass. But anyway, that's a conversation for a different testimony. So Diddy gonna tell him, don't put your hands on women. What you got to do now is write her a letter and buy her a gift. So David wrote her a letter and bought her a gift. Somebody asked me what he bought her. It ain't oil. They said, what did you buy her? He said, a blunt and a blunt wrap. They said, well, did she like it? He said, yeah, she loved it. Women, you guys got to want more for yourself. You got to want more for yourself, babe. You got to want more for yourself. Absolutely got to want more for yourself. You got to want more for yourself. That's crazy. They said, you've taken ecstasy, right? You've taken it while working. He said, well, no. He said, yeah, you have. He said, how often? He said, I don't recall. He said, I never did drugs with Diddy while working at the same time. And then the defense said, do you remember smoking a blunt? And Diddy caught you hiding a joint behind your back? He said, no. I thought I was off for the night. Then Diddy came back to me and said, hey, you're not off. What are you doing? And I said, nothing. He said, what's hiding behind your back? He said, nothing. And he said that Diddy told him, if you bold enough to smoke, you should be man enough to tell me that you did it. He said, the next time you do that again, I'm going to fire your ass. And he said he never did it again. Then they said, now watch this. Because David was a wild boy. He said, do you remember you and Roger Bonds picked up and paid for prostitutes and brought them to Diddy's house on the clock? See, this is, now if you're watching, this is all incriminating him and saying, you're a part of the RICO while you're sitting up here testifying for the prosecution. They clearly gave you immunity because, nigga, you are part of the enterprise. You don't remember when you and Roger Bonds picked up the whores? And you didn't tell Diddy? He said, I didn't know that they were whores. He said, you've got drugs, prostitutes, weapons. This is what he said. He said, well, I had a girlfriend at the time, but we did go meet these girls. He said that he slept with the prostitute, but he only found out they was prostitutes. Mind you, he had a whole girlfriend at the time, cheated on her with Roger Bonds. I don't know what they was doing. They was out running a wild night. Roger Bonds met these two girls. The two girls wanted to come back to the hotel, to the house. They brought him back in the house, but it'd be girls there all the time. So he said he brought him back to the house. You know, he banged the prostitute. And he said the reason why he found out after he banged the prostitute is because then when she got up, she swiped her cootie cat and then asked him for $200. And he said, $200? I don't want to pay for this. And then Bond said, you better pay because we don't need any problems at the house. So he gave her the $200. And then the prostitute asked, could she take a shower? And he told her it would cost $200 to take a shower in the house to get it, so he got his money back. So it wasn't clear if she gave him the $200 to take the shower or if she just left. If it were me, I'd have just left. It just, you know what I mean? I just give me an Uber real quick. I'll just jump in the bathtub when I get home. You know what I mean? Because the deal is done. I already got my cash. I'm on my way home. I did an all-nighter before. It's okay. And so, but all that funny stuff is out the window. You're a Kiki and a Cackle, but you with this too. You see what I'm saying? Dave, you doing all that crying and stuff, but you done hired a prostitute too. And you doing the coke runs. You doing the 8-ball runs. You riding in the car with the guns. Did they give you immunity? Because you up here being the funny guy, but you're with the shit. It's no shade. You're with it. Mm-hmm. And then you hit the woman in the kitchen and told her to stay in her motherfucking lane. Ho. So, you know, the Diddy done ran up, the Diddy then got on you. All he missing is the baby oil. Now, then he flipped on Diddy and said, they said, let's get back to Chef Jordan. This is the last piece I got. He said that Diddy told him to file a fake police report because, remember, Diddy allegedly hit Chef Jordan too. The same one that Diddy told him not to hit. So Diddy told him to go make a false police report just so that's his own record. So if she hit him again, or if Diddy have to knock her out again, then it shows that she was the aggressor and Diddy was defending himself. But David didn't go make the police report because he didn't want to make a false police report. So he went around and drove around for a couple of hours and acted like he was going to the police station, but he was just running around the city and never filed the report. But Diddy was trying to cover his tracks in case he had to uppercut Chef Jordan again. But there was no police report ever filed. Mm-mm-mm. 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 Child. And so now we get into Cassie's mom. She walks in, she's very displeased. She doesn't like Diddy at all. Can't stand Diddy. Disgusted. They jump right into it. Cassie sends an email. Threats have been made to me towards me by Sean Combs. She sends this to her mom. He is going to try to release 2 explicit tapes of me, one on Christmas, maybe before or right after, and another one soon after that. He also said that he will be having someone hurt me and Scott, aka Kid Cudi, physically. He made a point that it would not be by his hands. He actually said he would be out of town and out of the country when it happened. And they told Cassie's mom, Diddy, that they need $20,000 from her because Cassie had Diddy fucked up. Cassie had cheated on Diddy with Kid Cudi. Diddy had paid for whatever record or work that Kid Cudi and Cassie was doing. And so Diddy wanted his money back, and he told that mama, that bitch, you better find that money. I need that $20,000 back whole. And so Cassie's mom had to go and pull out a home equity loan for the $20,000 to pay Diddy. She paid the money. A few weeks later, Diddy ended up sending her the money back. Okay? This was the other tea. So in 2011, Cassie came home, shaved head, bruises all over her body, kicked, stomped, and beat. The mom took pictures of Cassie being beaten and bruised by Diddy, and she said she took the pictures to memorialize what he had did to her, and so it could be on paper. December 2011 was the first time she had heard about any beatings and things like that. After Christmas, Kid Cudi came to stay with Cassie at her mom's house for 3 to 5 days. In February 2012, Diddy came and hung out with Cassie and her mom, and that was the thing. So Cassie left Kid Cudi and got back with Diddy. They're going to get into Mia. Mia is another surprise witness. She's a Jane Doe. Mia is not really her name. She's coming. But apparently the mom said that she saw Mia. Mind you, they said so Mia is a fake name. Whoever this girl is that's coming to testify, her real name is not Mia. So before they're going to ask the mom a question about this girl. So what they did was they showed her a picture and they said, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to refer to her as Mia, and I'm going to ask you to refer to her as Mia. Then the mom goes, okay. Like, the hell is this? You know what I mean? Like, that's not her fucking name. But, I was like, girl, why she gave all that? But anyway, so apparently Mia was in the kitchen with Diddy. And Mia was just laughing, having a good time, just having a good time. And Diddy said, bitch, what are you laughing at? What the fuck is so funny, bitch? And she said that Mia just turned pale and white and got quiet and just disappeared. So you weren't even able to laugh. She said that Mia was just having too much fun. And Diddy said, bitch, what's funny? Did I tell you to laugh, ho? Bitch, what? What's funny? Bitch. That was his assistant, and she went, and she just disappeared. Now, why would he do that? So you can't even laugh? That's crazy. That's crazy. To not be able to laugh is out of control. That's crazy. Like, what? Like, what? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? That's not cool. So then, Diddy, this is when Cassie's mom tried to fight Diddy. Diddy apparently stole Cassie's phone the weekend of her 30th birthday. So Cassie, her mom, everybody was out here. Remember I told you the story where Cassie and Diddy was riding in a car together. Well, now we have more context of the story. So everybody was in LA for Cassie's 30th birthday party, okay? Cassie's mom was staying at her place. Diddy and Cassie were in the car driving up Wilshire Boulevard. Diddy texted Cassie and was talking to Cassie in the car and said, hey, text your mom and see if she's doing good. See if she's okay, because your mom, your family's out here visiting. And so Cassie slid her phone open to unlock it. Diddy grabs the phone and goes through the phone. He wouldn't get the phone back. The mom called the police because Cassie went back to her house. The mom was like, where's your phone? She's like, well, Diddy got it. So then Diddy comes. This is August 2016. Now Diddy and Cassie's mom is outside of Cassie's apartment arguing. The mom said she was yelling and screaming and she was swinging on Diddy. But either D-Rock or Roger Bonds was in the middle and they wouldn't let her hit Diddy. So the mama was trying to square up with Diddy. But mamas, you got to watch that, because what if Diddy would have socked Cassie mama? But I know my mama, it don't matter how big you are or whatever. My mama, something about mamas, they don't care. You mess with their kids, even if they don't have the strength. I know some people, mama, that can't even walk, and they be talking about, which you ain't gonna check me, you ain't gonna, I'll blow this much. Like, you ain't finna do nothing, ma'am. I will just, kick your wheelchair over, girl. Like, stop. I will trip you on this cane. But you can't tell people that when you messing with their kids. So Cassie mama now trying to fight Diddy outside in LA. So she over there swinging on Diddy. And I'm not mad at her though, because she's probably fed up. You dealing with your daughter with these bruises. She shaved her head. She getting stepped on. Now you find out she getting pissed on, cheated on, sodomized, double jerked off, taking Viagra. I'ma whoop that nigga's ass too. You know what I'm saying? And so eventually the mom gave, Diddy gave back Cassie's phone to the mom. So that was fine. So we got the phone back. Cool. Diddy did end up not going to the birthday party. He skipped the birthday party. It was too much going on. The mom didn't want him there. He didn't go. They still did Cassie's 30th birthday party, and it was what it was. Now it's time for the defense to cross-examine the mother. Defense gets up there and says, Ms. Ventura, I have no questions for you. Thank you. Smartest move by the defense yet. You know why? Because you thought you could not get up there and grill Cassie mama in front of that jury. That was a closed case. You had to give them that. There's no way that you were going to try to get up there and grill that girl's mama when y'all know what Diddy put her through. Forget all the freak off stuff. Whatever the reason is, because if I'm somebody's mama, I don't want my daughter doing all that anyway. So I'm already irritated about that. But then the bruises, the beat down, whoever's fault it was, drugs, or this, that, there, the fact that she's even doing all that, it's a problem. So I don't like Diddy if I'm her mama. I don't care what it is. What's the reason? What's the cause? And you're not finna cross-examine me about my kid. This courtroom. They would have lost that case today if they would have thought they was going to get up there and play with that lady's mama. The case would have been done. That was the smartest move the defense did today, because you cannot get up there and think you're going to interrogate Cassie's mama. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And so, and anybody on that jury would have all flipped. So they were smart for that, because they would have lost that. They definitely would have lost that. Now it gets a little good. So that was that. So now we get to the Punisher, a.k.a. Sheree. Let me see what his name is. Let me see. The Punisher. Let me Google the Punisher. Sheree Hayes, a.k.a. the Diddy Slayer. So this is Sheree Hayes. This is the escort, a.k.a. the Punisher. Okay? So that's the Punisher. Let me see if I can pull the picture up. This is the Punisher. He looks good. Oh, that was 2015. So this is when he was dealing with Cassie. This is him in 2015. He still kind of looks like this. He's just 51 now. He was 42 years old then. So this is the kind of men that Diddy would want over the house. Okay? Now you're kind of getting the judge. So this is who was at the house. Okay? Let me show you. Hold on. Let me show you. I got to get you a better picture so you guys can really understand what's going on here. I want you guys to really see what's going on. This is the Punisher, okay? And so this is what Diddy was into, okay? And so they ask him, so the Punisher, now mind you, I thought he was gay, a little feminine. So the Punisher is 51. He's from Harlem. He's a male exotic dancer. I wrote he's gay, but I don't know. How do you know Cassie and Diddy? They said they hired him to create a sexy, erotic, kind of scene in fall of 2012. How they met? Well, he was working at the club events, and Cassie contacted him and said that it was her birthday, and she was conducting or looking to have a party, like a like a bachelorette party kind of vibe. And she said her man said she can do it, but she didn't go by Cassie. Her name was Janet. Okay. He has a website called getpunished.com. Now, getpunished.com, you can go ahead and hire dancers. You can get his book. You can get into that. It's supposed to not be escort service. They asked him, how did you get the name The Punisher? Apparently, the name The Punisher came from him playing basketball, because he would dunk and slide and punish people on the court. I'm thinking, I don't know if that's what that's coming for. The Punisher, maybe. He got that from playing basketball. So the Punisher was in there punishing Janet, a.k.a. Cassie. Okay? And so the website, we're not going to go on here because I don't know what it's given, and this is YouTube. It's called getpunished.com. They said that they do bachelor parties, late night parties, ladies' night parties, and things of that. They said a lot of times they would meet to be like 2:30 in the morning. Okay. This is now before we get to the cross-examination, this is the prosecution. This is his testimony. We haven't got into the cross-examination yet. Now, if you guys really want to know my opinion, I think that this witness was supposed to really nail in the coffin for Diddy. However, it ended up balancing or neutralizing Diddy, or end up working in Diddy's favor. I personally feel like, I'm going to just be honest with you, this is not an open and shut case. And I don't feel like all the witnesses that they're bringing are just super strong witnesses that are killing Diddy. The Punisher, in my opinion, actually ended up being a better witness for the defense than he was the government. And I'll tell you why as we go through it. Now, they asked where he would meet, what different places they would meet, and where he would punish Janet. And so he said that he revealed that he would punish Janet all over New York, through the Trump Tower in Central Park West, Striptease Central Park West, and he would just be hitting her everywhere. They said when she came up, they were supposed to do a striptease. No, they met at the Trump Tower, Central Park West. This is where the first time they met. It was supposed to be a striptease. That's what she told him. And they said, just try to get up the stairs and walk past security. And I this was a gray area for me because I couldn't really hear. I think he was going to get paid $200 to $300 for the strip show. He said Cassie had on a wig and a robe with nothing on. Or Janet had on a wig and a robe with nothing on, with stilettos. He said he was expecting a crowd, but there was no such crowd. There was no guests. And then when he got there, she said, I don't want to dance. She wanted to create a sexy scene where him and her would rub baby oil all over each other while her husband would watch. Okay? But here were the rules. Don't look at my husband. Don't acknowledge my husband. Try not to have any communication with him. Act as if he's not there. Okay. And then Janet, aka Cassie, handed him $800 in cash when he walked in. He said the couch was covered in sheets. They had little bowls of water. I don't know if they were sound bowls or what. I'm like, what is the water? They had like waters. I don't know if it was drinking water. I don't know if it was wet water. I don't know what kind of water this was, but I just like, I'm not going to lie to you. I need a little one-on-one, little one-two, and I'm going to have, I want to do a freak off. I want to do a freak off. And it don't have to be a freak off, like a off, but it could just be like a freak off. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to do a freak off without the hitting and the beating and the bruising. Like, I'm not going to lie. I want to do a freak off because what is the bowls of water do? So there was the bowls of water. He said they just had like, and I'm sure they was expensive water, expensive bowls, nice, you know, to buy. He said it was candles, it was mood lighting, it was, and then it was just bottles of, but see, I don't care about the oil so much, but I don't know if they were heated or room temperature or whatever happened. And I don't know if they was in pink bottles. I don't know what kind of, but they were like bottles of baby oil next to the water. And he said that, hold on. Then he said, Cassie started, and he would follow Cassie's lead. They were there, and he was trying to kind of get ready, and Cassie would just start oiling herself up. She would oil up. She'd look at him, and she oiling. And then so he said he just started grabbing the oil, and he started oiling up, looking at her. And so as he's oiling up and looking at her, and everybody's oiling up, hold on, everybody's oiling up. Cassie's oiling up. She's feeling it, and he's oiling up, and she's oiling up. And they're standing there rubbing oil. Now, I don't need that part because what are we doing all the rubbing the oil on? Like, that's not, I can't do nothing with that. And then he said that as they was oiling up, Diddy walked in naked like this. He said, then Diddy walked in, but he didn't say bandana. He said it was one of the Muslim wraps that the Muslim women wear, the Jewish, the Muslim, whatever that whatever this is, where they be covering the whole face. He said Diddy had one of those that the Pakistani women have on, and he walked in with the Astroglide, and he was glowing too. And so he said that Diddy walked in with the veil on from the Pakistanian veil, and he said with the Astroglide in his hand, and he walked in with the veil from the back. He said that they were oiling up, and then Diddy walked in from the back, jacking from just looking with the veil on. And I'm like, what? But he wasn't allowed to really look at Diddy. Okay? And then he said, Diddy start directing. So Diddy I got to put this on because y'all got to understand. He said, I'm about to show you exactly what he said. He said that Diddy had the veil on, and while they oiling up, then Diddy would start directing. Then he say, fix the light, turn left, more oil, more oil. He said he said that his job, he had to stay oiled up. And as they would get lower and lower on the oil, you would have to do more oil. And so Diddy would say, more oil, more oil, more oil. Turn the light down, more oil. Okay? And so, and he had the Pakistani mask on, and Cassie's oiling, and she's trying to get more oil, and he's doing more oil. But then he said his anxiety was so bad. Okay? Then he said, once that ended, that time, Diddy just stood up and left and went to the other room. Then Cassie followed. They'd been there for like 10 to 15 minutes, whatever. He'd come back. And then Cassie would ask him, did he want to finish? And he said, no. He said, no, as long as you're happy. And you know what finish is, right? So Cassie said she'd come back after because Diddy would walk away. And then Cassie go check. And then Cassie say, you want to finish? Or Janet, whatever. You want to finish? And he said, well, no. I mean, are you good? I mean, I'm good. And they said, it's okay. So then they gave him another $1,200. So he left lathered in baby oil with $2,000. So boom, that was one time. And so they said, well, did you know that was Diddy? Did you know that was Cassie? They said, well, no. He said, well, how did you find out that was Diddy? And he said, well, one time they had, because now mind you, they said he had about 8 to 12 encounters with Diddy and Janet, Cassie. So apparently, okay, he said, could you imagine this? So listen, I'm learning so much through this case. I'm just going to be honest with you. So he said, mind you, the room is under, Mr. Black or Black, whatever, Frank Black. And Cassie is going by the name of Janet. She got on a wig, high heels, nothing on, and a robe. Diddy's got on the Pakistani mask, a low hat, glistened up, and he's got on the direct with the Astroglide directing the scene. So Diddy had like a kinky, like a scene fetish, and he would sit there and watch the scene play out, and he would be the nasty, freaky Pakistani Muslim woman, I guess. I don't know. So they said when Diddy walked in the bathroom, or Diddy and Cassie walked away, the man was sitting in the living room for a while just watching TV because I guess they were getting ready for another session. So when he went to turn on the TV, the damn TV said, hello, Mr. Combs. Welcome to the Essex, Mr. Sean Combs. Then he said, well, I was a fan of him. So I went to his Instagram and I seen Cassie and him. They were here. And so that's how I found out. But he never said nothing to them. So he had silently clocked the T. Could you imagine kitchen? Could you imagine? Oh, my God. You like, I'm over here fucking Diddy and Cassie? This is some shit ain't nobody gonna believe this. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine being in that situation? You over there freaking off with Diddy and Cassie, and he's got on a Pakistani mask, and she got on a wig, and she talking about her name is Janet, and Diddy sitting somewhere in the depths of the dark, jacking up. What? And then the TV say, I probably would have turned that TV off so fast and think somebody's caught me. I'd have been like, oh my God, I'd have been so nervous. I'd been like gagging. My pants I probably would have dropped the remote. I would have been a mess. I would have been a mess. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I would have been a mess had I been in that situation and I seen that. And I'm like, oh my God. Bitch, I'm over here fucking Diddy and Cassie. This is crazy. I'm gagging. And so then they said, well, how many encounters? We went to lunch and then we got back from lunch. So they asked, well, how many encounters have you had with Diddy and Cassie? He said, well, 8 to 12. Said, how often? He said, well, it'll be like every few months. And it will be like consecutive days. So we'd like do like Friday and Saturdays. And it would go, they said, well, where would you do it? He said, well, the Gramercy Hotel, the London, the Essex. It'll be, it'll be a few places. And they said, well, how long would it go for? He said, well, it always usually ended up being really, really late. So it'd be like from 2:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm just thinking, like, you thinking you having a wild night with your girl or whatever, and you're not thinking that this is going to be on the freaking front page news. Like, you could not have told me that 10 years ago, Diddy thought that this night everybody will be hearing about, or these nights. Like, you thinking that you ever, but Cassie was given like she didn't want to be a part of it, but it was just like you're having a freaky night with your partner, and you thinking everything is cool, and this is going to come and haunt you in a decade. It's crazy. So just got to watch what you do out there. You just never know. So hold on. So Janet, this is the next time. Janet calls. They said, well, who sets it up? He said, well, Janet or Cassie. Either she'll phone call me first and then like she'll text and then we'll set it all up. But Cassie will reach out. He said there was one time though that it got really weird. He said that somebody reached out to me and asked him, was he available? And he was like, well, I don't know who this is. So can you send a picture? And that person just stopped communicating. And then like a few hours later, he got a message from Janet. So it sounds like Diddy was really high and really wanted him to come and just reached out on his own. And then when the dude was like asking too many questions, he just stopped and was like, Cassie, you go do it. And so they said, well, what all would you do? He said, well, I would really kind of do, it would be like, at first it start off as a sexy scene. Then it would be, then we'd go into a little, and then it would get into a little, you know what I'm saying? And so they said, well, describe the freak off. So he said, well, how it would start is I would sit on the couch. She would sit on the couch. We'd get the baby oil, start rubbing down. They said, was Diddy there? And apparently Diddy was always involved. And he was giving directions and engaging. Okay. Then he said, he would give Kim and Cassie would do the back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So she went and then he would. Well, I don't know if it. I don't know how you do that. You know what I'm talking about. He would do that. He would do that, and Cassie do. And so they would do, and then after he would just start banging Cassie or Janet. Um, and while this is happening, Diddy is giving directions. Move to the right when she's. And so they said, well, Diddy would say, then when he was doing, then Diddy would say, you know, move to the left, and I can't see, the light is too low, or more oil when it's going in, more oil. Or then he say, sit forward. So I don't know if that was when she was eating it or something or whatever, but then he wanted everybody to lean and sit forward. And every time there was a new action, there needed to be more oil. Okay. And so And then they said one time it was getting so good and he was hitting Cassie and Diddy just came and dropped money on the bed. Dropped a pound of money on the bed. And then Cassie was startled because she was mid and she looked because she didn't know if that was going to come with a blow. And she said, "Is everything okay?" And then he said, "Yeah, I like that shit. Yeah, I like this shit." Diddy. He said, "Yeah, I like this shit." And so, mind you, Diddy is telling the man is telling the story. I'm looking over at Diddy like this. He can't even look at it. Diddy is looking like this. Like this is, I can't believe this shit. So he was like, "Yeah, I like this shit." And then the man said, "I had to keep oil on." He had to keep every few minutes. It'd be more oil, more oil, more oil. Diddy would say, "More oil, more oil." As he's directing, more oil, more oil. And so that was part of, you just had to know that the oil, you never got dry. You had to have more oil the entire time. It was more every time we would need more oil. More oil, more oil, more oil, more oil, more oil. Turn to the left, more oil. Turn to more oil. I mean, that's why it's so much oil. It's just hella baby oil. It's just, and they had it in every area. It was just more, and then you would just shoot the oil all over you, and it's just more oil. And so then they said, "Well, how long would the freak off last?" He said, "Between the oil and everything and the massage and woo, everything would last about 4 hours." And he said the actual full on that would go for about 25 minutes. Okay. Then he said he would have to finish usually inside or out or around Cassie. But more times than none, it was outside or like on Cassie, but it was like right here. You know what I'm saying? And it was a very specific spot. It was on the lips. Like he had to do it on the lips, like right, like there was nowhere else. It would have to shoot up her lips, if you know what I mean, or it rhymes with it, and it starts with a click. You know what I'm saying? And he would have to shoot on that part specifically every time. It would have to land there. That was like, I'm like, oh my God. Okay. And so then he said Diddy would leave the room and Cassie would follow. Then Cassie would come back and say everything was fine, pay him, and then he would leave. He said, usually Cassie would come dressed up like in a robe, or she'd come back out like, "All right, you good now, you good to go." And then she'd pay him between $1,200 and $2,000. And they were asking, "Well, what's the difference in pay?" He said, well, he didn't really understand why he got less pay sometimes and more some other times. That just was the pay. There's no reason why. They would just hand them, and Cassie would hand the money or the funds. He said it again. He said, then Diddy threw money on the bed again before. Cassie looked nervous. He said he was okay. He said, "I'm fine. I just love this shit." He said that again. Then one time, he said it was getting so good to Diddy. Diddy came and threw condoms on the ground, just threw a condom on the couch and aggressively said, "Now fuck her." So he came, he was in a bag jacket with the mask on. Then he came and slammed him. "Now fuck her. Now I want to see you fuck her." Very aggressively, like, fuck her. But he slammed the condoms down. Now fuck her. And he said, no. He said, no. That's what he said. Excuse me. He said, now I'm ready to see you fuck her. And so he did that. And he said it was a very aggressive way of saying that. And so they said, well, because now the defense is trying to say, well, did Cassie enjoy herself? Because remember, the whole thing is Cassie doesn't like the freak offs. Cassie's not into the freak. Remember, that was her whole thing. So this is why the defense has her up, not the defense, the prosecution has him up there because he's supposed to be, the trafficking, the this, that, and the third, the escort, that. And plus, now Cassie, is supposed to be coerced into the freak off and not enjoying it. So they're like, what? How was Cassie? He said, I don't know. My understanding was we were just creating a scene for her partner. They said, well, how was she when she, when you guys were creating the scene? Like, what noises or anything did she make? And I'm thinking, what noises? He said, well, Cassie would make noises when Diddy would give her direction. And they said, well, what kind of noises would she make? And they said, well, Cassie would make winces and sighs when Diddy would say go left or go right. She go, okay. But I don't, so they were trying to hand on that, like, but that could have just been like, girl, I'm in my mood and you want me to move. But she was basically saying that, he was saying that, she was making those noises like she didn't really want to be doing it. He said that Cassie would be kind of a little frustrated. But he said generally she would appear calm and she didn't look like she was on drugs. He said a lot of the times Cassie was seeking cues from Diddy on what to do. So they were trying to lean in on that. They said when things were going on, where would Cassie be looking? And he said she would be looking at Diddy. They said, has Cassie ever said no, she didn't want to do it? He said no. They asked him, has he done any drugs? He said, no, I don't do drugs. He said, I fake it though. He said, I've been offered different things, but I don't drink and I don't do drugs. He said, but I'm kind of like, I'll act like I'm smoking the weed, but I don't inhale it. So I don't really do drugs. He said, I didn't see Diddy do drugs. And he didn't look intoxicated. This is when it started to turn. He said he never seen Diddy do drugs. And he didn't look intoxicated. But then he said it took a left turn for him. And this started to be the downfall of him. Sometimes I couldn't get hard. My anxiety was a lot. So basically, he would have anxiety because he felt like I'm doing this and I'm expected to perform and I got to shoot in a specific spot and this, that, and the third. Damn it. I've been a dancer grinding on women I'm 51 years old. I've been doing this for 30 years now. And now the damn man suffers from erectile dysfunction. And so, but they were trying to make it seem like he did that because of the free calls for Diddy. But so he was saying that because his anxiety was so much, he couldn't really get it up like that. And so he would take all kind of pills from the corner store, Viagra, this, that, and the third to try to get it up. He was uncomfortable because Diddy was there. He would take Saliad or corner store pills, Viagra, anything. He said, they said, would you get a difference in pay? He said he wasn't sure, but I could tell you that's probably why he got 1,200 versus 2,000 sometimes, because the pay. And March of 2015 was the final freak off. Diddy was too close at the time and he couldn't perform. He failed miserably during that freak off. Then Diddy did it again, slammed it on the table. I'm ready to see you fuck her. I'm fuck her now. Fuck her. And he said he tried and he tried. Diddy got up on him. It's time for you to fuck her. And he couldn't. He couldn't. And he failed. He said he had to debate until he came. Cassie thanked him for being private, and then Cassie kind of thanked him for being very private. They loved him. But he felt like he didn't get called back because he didn't her. And so that was that. And then we get into the defense and their cross-examination. And before we get there, shout out to the 25,000 people in the chat today. If you guys have not done so, please like this video right now. Please subscribe to this channel right now, because we have been doing this every single day, and I'll be tired on here. I'll be fighting people in the lines. They be hating on me sometimes. So I need y'all to support, subscribe, the chat to the channel. Also, the baby oil fund. We are outside these trenches. Please feel free to give to our super chats. Please feel free to give to our Cash App and our Venmo. Not our Cash App, our Venmo. If you have my phone number, go ahead and Apple Pay me if you want. But please, 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 please support the channel and subscribe. And also click the link here if you're not following me on Instagram, because I would hate for you guys to miss the live. Okay? You need your notifications. Okay? So let's get back to what we're talking about. So the defense comes and he says, September 2022, you're writing a book, right? I'm thinking, oh no, this is writing a book. But apparently this man has been writing a book about his dysfunction and how you overcome it using an implant. And they asked, what is the name of the book? And the book title is In Search of Freezer Meat. And everybody was like, what the hell is freezer meat? And then it clicked. Oh my God. Freezer meat is like a brick. I want my shit to be stuck like freezer meat. That's the new one. You need that freezer meat? I got that. I got freezer meat all day. I'm gonna text somebody that you need that freezer meat. That's a good one. That's some old school. That's some 51. That's some old school cats. Bitch, get over here and get this freezer meat. Yes, freezer meat. Freezer meat is crazy. Yes, freezer meat. Freezer meat is crazy. That's a good one. Freezer meat. Yes. Okay. Who needs some freezer meat? So he said he's chronicling and fixing his dysfunction with an implant. He has about 6.5 pages in the book that are about Diddy and Janet. But he doesn't go into, who they are. And he was really respectful about it. He was saying, like, it was more about him not being able to perform with a high profile client. And he didn't say their names. He used husband and wife. So you wouldn't know that it was Diddy and Janet, but you just knew something. It was about 6.5 pages about the encounter. It was mainly about his anxiety and not the details from, their personal lives and their personal things between him and her. Okay. There's some truth to it, but he sensationalizes it for the book. I kind of want to get the book now. So the cross comes in and they start talking about, how he is the co-owner of hunkomania.com. Now he used to dance there. That's where Cassie, I think, met him. And he has, he's the new owner of Hunkomania, and he's got, what is the website? Thepunisher.com. And so the thing with that is they were like, well, you've been doing this for about 30 years. He's like, yeah. I was a dancer for years. I danced for hundreds of thousands of women doing unprofessional dry humping. And he was like, there's no feelings involved, because the guy was trying to say, basically, you started to fall in love with Cassie. So that's why you're here. He was like, no, that's not true. I never liked Cassie. He said, well, you and Cassie used to talk on the side. He said, no, me and Cassie would probably call me, then it end up being a text message. Sorry, that is inaccurate. I never liked her like that. I desensitized myself from that. I would check on her here and there, but we never had any other relationship. Him and Cassie would have personal conversations, not like that. He believed Cassie was comfortable with him and she could call him. That's what that was. But Diddy got comfortable with him too. So 8 to 12, after you thought she was doing this with you felt. Oh, but at one point though, he did feel some type of way, because he thought that she was the only one that he was doing it with. He felt like he was the only one. And he said, yeah, I did think I was the only one that they were calling, that they were doing it with, but I wasn't. But I felt like, I was honored, and I felt special, because he was like, well, you felt special. He's like, well, I did feel special, because I felt like, wow, she trusted me to share this moment with me and her husband. These are powerful people. They're rich. They're famous. You know what I mean? They look good. And so they wanted me. I feel good. And they called me back to back, and, and I'm feeling like I can't perform, but, yeah, I was feeling kind of good. And so they said, so you had a meeting with the government, with Cassie. You told the government you developed feelings for Cassie, correct? He said, no, that's not correct. Most of what he does he said, most of what I do is for fun. I don't do it to turn anybody on. I do it to really create moments. So I'm the type of person that does stuff like, I want to dance with the old ladies and flip them up and do stuff like that. I go to bachelorette parties. These are people getting married to their husbands and stuff. I'm not trying to break up nobody. I'm not trying to be in nobody's, relationship. So, and that was something that I didn't know. I didn't know that these dancers were that cognizant. So when they go to these bachelor parties, these bachelorette parties, they don't really want you. Maybe not all of them, but they don't really want you. They're going there for the gag of it all, to have fun. So they're not trying to sleep with the bride or the groom. But he said Diddy and Cassie was way out of his norm. That was just some freaked out. Okay. That was like way, 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 way out of his norm. He said in 25 years of women, you never seen discomfort from Cassie, right? He was like, no. This is when he started being a better witness for the defense. Basically, he was like, I never seen discomfort from Cassie. She always seemed to be cool. And then he said, well, Hunkomania and GetPunished.com, they don't allow prostitution, right? He was like, no. He said, correct. He said, so you're not a prostitute. He said, correct. So that goes to the narrative of the trafficking and paid and the prostitution, all that. So the guy's like, I don't do that. My sites don't allow that. That's not what this is. So this is helping Diddy's case more. Now he said there was a time. He said he was talking about how he was eating Cassie's and Diddy threw the condom and said, I want you to her. That happened. He said, but Puff was not aggressive. He was just very direct. So the question was like, was Puffy ever mean? Did he have a bad time? Was it a problem? He was like, he was never like aggressive. It was just direct. He said him and Cassie always had blank without condoms. Okay. He said, so there's no drugs, no filming, no violence, no none of that, and no uncomfortableness. This is what this defense said. The guy was like, correct. He said, congratulations on your book, and I hope you have a great book. No further questions. Because then that guy ended up becoming a better witness for the defense. So they didn't need to really grill him. So in the redirect, because now the prosecution has to be like, well, y'all witness kind of flipped. So the prosecution comes back and says, what made you feel like she was enjoying herself? He was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, she looked at Diddy and got consent, and like, she was chilling. She looked like we really locked in. Then the prosecution said, did she make any noises that made you think she was enjoying herself? Objection, Your Honor. Objection. Objection. And they said, sustain. But then they said, so what made you think that she was enjoying herself? So this is what he said. So I'm going to just tell you this one time. I was eating her out. And when I was eating her, he said he came up for air. So he was down there and then when he came up for air, Cassie scooted toward him like now it's time to be punished, if you know what I mean. So he said, I was eating her, and then when I came up for air, she scooted her towards me like she was ready for some. So in my mind, that made me feel like she was enjoying herself because she was ready for the next stage. And they said, okay. And then she said, have you been around a lot of people doing drugs? He was like, no. He's like, oh, okay. You don't have much experience, so you don't know people are high. So boom, that discounted that. And so that was pretty much it. That was the most interesting part. The witness and I wrote, the witness has become a better for the defense. Now the prosecution is leaning in and trying to squeeze whatever they can to try to sway the jury. And then I wrote, this nigga behind me is knocked out sleep. Okay, because there was somebody behind me just snoring down. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I'm like, girl, why are you sleep like that? So I'm gonna breeze through this last part and then we're gonna get going. So after that, there was a guy from Homeland Security. He came in from Homeland Security in Miami. Nothing really too interesting. Pretty much, he's the one that rotted in. His name was Jared Ganan. He works for Homeland Security in Miami. So his job was to go uncover any evidence that could be used in this case towards Diddy. So they went to Diddy's house on One Star Island in Miami, or Two Star Island Drive, Miami, Florida. And they took about 80 to 90 officers to search Diddy's house, okay? Because the house is 20,000 square feet. They did about 3 o'clock at night, p.m. They heard Diddy and his family would be leaving town, so they wanted to wait, and they just went and swatted and raided his house. What did they find? They found many bottles of baby oil, Astroglide, 2 AR-15 rifles, high heels, lingeries, and panties, and a bunch of toys. And then on the rifles, they were blacked out serial numbers, and that's where we ended. So tomorrow we pick up with that. We got a few more, and I think Kid Cudi's going to hit the stand at the end of the day, and he's going to carry over to Thursday. So, chow, that is where we are with it. It's a lot going on. But, baby, y'all can't say I didn't give you all the tea. So, are y'all loving the commentary? I love y'all all. I done talked for 2 hours. I'm tired, but I'm doing this for y'all. I love y'all so much for supporting. Make sure y'all keep subscribing, keep sharing the videos, keep tagging me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm reposting. And please subscribe to the channel right now. It's 25,000 of y'all on here. I know all y'all not subscribed. If y'all not subscribed, stop being lazy. Hit the subscribe button. And if you're not following me on Instagram, stop being lazy. It's 2 seconds. Just subscribe to my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram right now. All right. I will see y'all tomorrow. And remember, more oil, more oil. I'll see you soon. Oh, and keep that same energy. Peace out.